This here is the Evo India long-term Hyundai Tucson. The Hyundai Tucson has been part of the Evo India fleet for nearly a year and a half, and it's done everything. We've taken it for adventures in the Himalayas, we've done long highway runs in it, city runs. It has seen everything. We got it when it was relatively new, and today it's done 25,000 kilometers. In that time, we've really gotten to understand the nitty-gritties of this car, what it's like to live with, what's the good stuff, what's the bad stuff. And we're going to tell you all about it today. Welcome to Evo India and welcome to our long-term review of the Hyundai Tucson. Let's dive right in. Let me take you back to November 2022. That's when we first got our hands on the Hyundai Tucson. It was actually Sirish that drove it first, part of the Great India Drive. Hyundai took them from Kashmir, from Srinagar, all the way to the Zojila Pass. And November is the start of winter. That's when the snow starts falling. And it was properly snowed in. In fact, the army had shut Zojila and nobody was allowed to enter. But Hyundai, they got special permission, and Sirish and the whole crew from all the magazines took Hyundai Tucsons up a fully snowed in Zojila. The four-wheel drive system on the Tucson is what allowed them to actually get through the pass and make it to the other side. After crossing the pass, they came back the next day, and when Sirish reached Srinagar, I took the Hyundai Tucson, crossed Zojila all over again and went far beyond. We took this very Hyundai Tucson all the way up to Umling. Umling, as you know, is the highest motorable road in the world, over 19,000 feet. In fact, it's higher than Everest Base Camp. This thing, it really performed well up in high altitudes. The amount of torque that it has allowed it to scale those heights, scale those mountains really well. There were some really difficult off-road patches that we had to climb to reach Umling. But even there, it didn't falter. The heated seats, they were an absolute boon in the mountains, and they really kept us warm in those conditions. I have such fond memories of this Tucson in those conditions. It was my first time to Ladakh, and I went to the very extreme, taking it all the way up to Umling. And well, let's get inside the car and tell you what it's like to drive on our roads. After our adventures in the mountains, we actually drove this Tucson all the way back from Delhi to Pune. And on that highway stint, it actually showed to us how capable a long-distance machine it is. It's such an incredibly long-legged car, good refinement, good efficiency, how much you spend per kilometer. But also the torque, you know, you put it into sport mode, you've got your drive mode button down here, and you can really use all 180 horsepower and that big grunt of diesel torque. It really makes overtaking effortless, it makes sitting at highway speeds effortless, and when you're driving along, you don't feel fatigued because the car moves along at such pace with such effortlessness. Fatigue sets in when you have to really drive a car hard, but the Tucson you can drive lazily and still be driving really fast, and that's what makes it such a nice long-distance car. Mated to the gearbox, you've got the 8-speed automatic transmission. It's a nice gearbox that when left to its own devices does a really good job. Okay, you don't get paddle shifters. I would have liked to have paddle shifters just to add that little bit of engagement when I want it. You don't need it all of the time. And out on the highway, it has really good manners as well. You know, its ride quality is really, really good. It feels very European in the way that it rides. It feels very planted, very sorted. I would say it's a little softer strung compared to its European counterparts like the Tiguan or the Kodiaq, and maybe there's a little more vertical movement, but it's not much. And honestly, that softness, that little bit of play actually works well on our highways, because our highways are far from perfect. There's always something that you have to deal with on our roads, so you do need some amount of play. And special mention to the seats. These seats are beautiful. They hold you really well. You sink into them nicely. And after an 800,000 kilometer day, you feel really fresh getting out of a Tucson. That long distance ability has held it in good stead, and that's why it's put so many kilometers on, 25,000 kilometers. It's not a small number when we've got so many cars at our disposal. And that's because it's our go-to choice for long distance drive. One thing we did notice about the Tucson in our long distance trips is that if you load it up with 5 people and their luggage, it tends to squat. Recently we had the Volkswagen 24-hour run in Indore, and the Tucson was one of the cars that we used to ferry the team and our equipment. It was heavily loaded, no doubt about that, but it squats on its rear wheels, and that sort of changes the dynamics and the ride quality on the road. It's not too comfortable, bottoms out easily, and it doesn't feel so confident. The Tucson is much happier being loaded up with 4 and a decent amount of luggage, not being packed full and crammed full of luggage. Then it's a much better car to drive. It's also done a ton of Pune-Bombay runs. We keep going to Bombay for work, and the Tucson again is our trusty companion for those drives. It loves the expressway, it deals with it really well. You know, the Ghat section, it does a good job of dealing with that too. And speaking of the expressway, we must talk about ADAS, because that was new on this Tucson. Now, not all variants of the Tucson get ADAS. This particular variant that we have has it. And honestly, when we first got the car, we were in two minds about it. We used to turn it off, at least I used to. It used to keep getting in the way, or at least we felt so. But the more you live with the car, the more you realize that the ADAS is not so much of a problem. I actually did this one experiment one time. I drove all the way from Bombay to Pune, actually the other way around, from Pune to Bombay, using only ADAS on the expressway, except for the Ghat section, which is a bit of a mess. But the rest of the time, adaptive cruise control, lane keep assist. Obviously, I was paying attention to the road, both hands on the steering wheel, otherwise it won't let you activate those modes. But yeah, the car took over and it just did it effortlessly. It was a day with light traffic. On a heavy traffic day, you'll find it slowing down a lot because it keeps reading traffic in front and keeps slowing down. But on a light traffic day, it worked beautifully. So ADAS does work in Indian conditions if you've got the time and patience to understand it, and if you've got the space for it. The Tucson is a significant car for Hyundai. It is their global bestseller, and it shows in the way it drives. It was actually the first Korean car to beat European and American cars in a comparison test. It beat the Tiguan and the Jeep Compass when we did our comparison test. And that just went to show how good the Tucson has become. This new generation takes all of those core traits of the last Tucson and moves it up a notch. It really feels more complete than the last one, especially in terms of the interiors and how they feel and how they look. But also on the driving front, you know, this is a nice car. It handles really well. A big criticism, you can say, of Korean cars in the past were their soggy handling. But that's not the case with the Tucson anymore. It's genuinely an enthusiastic handler. You know, you show it a set of bends and you will come out of the other side smiling. It may not be as tied down and as pointy as something like a Tiguan, but it's nearly there. It's nearly there, and that's saying a lot. You know, the steering may be a little lifeless, but you've got good bite from the front wheels, you've got good traction, you've got good amount of lateral grip, and you can chuck it around a set of corners and have a lot of fun with it. So in terms of the engine, ride and handling package, this Tucson feels very good. Now we also must talk about the back seat. I don't have the privilege of a driver, and I don't need one because my commute's very, very short, you know. But Sirish occasionally does. He gets the driver to drive and he's busy working in the back. And he says that the Tucson's back seat is actually really nice. You know, you've got a lot of space in the back. This is genuinely a proper, comfortable car. Plus, you've got the burst buttons on this front seat, so you can actually move this front seat out of the way from the back seat itself. He likes the backrest recline angle also, he says it's a good. He wishes he had sunblinds, and he's right. I mean, a lot of cars at much more affordable price points today have sunblinds. They give you a lot of privacy, and in our summer conditions, they give you protection from the sun, which is necessary. Another thing missing from the back seat is some sort of controls for the AC, for the volume, you know, to keep the backseat person in charge, because a lot of people who do buy these cars do sit in the back. But otherwise, it's a very comfortable back seat. Now, if I had to criticize things about the Tucson that we don't like so much over our time using it. Number one, the upholstery color. This tends to get dirty and get stained very easily. it's hard to maintain. Number two, the sunroof, it squeaks and rattles a little bit, you know. It's not so bad if you've got the blind on. It sort of dampens a little bit off the noise. But like this, with the blind open and the sunroof closed, you can hear a lot of kit when you're driving along, especially over bumps when the body's flexing. Another criticism I have of the Tucson, and in fact this is not just the Tucson, this is the entire range of Hyundai and even Kia cars, is that you still need a USB Type A port to use CarPlay. You can't connect wirelessly over wireless CarPlay, and there's no Type C ports for phone connectivity as well. So you are stuck with that one old Type A USB cable. I mean, it just feels a little dated on that front. The infotainment screen's fine, it's large, it's big, it's clear, you can see everything clearly. When you hook up CarPlay to it, it's nice and visible. Even this instrument cluster, very nicely done. But I would have liked that added phone connectivity. That is a big drawback on the Tucson. But those three things aside, there's really little else to criticize on the Tucson. There's so much else that's going for it. You know, you've got your Bose audio now. The Bose audio system works really well. The dashboard is actually very well laid out, logical. All your controls are in the right place. Everything is seamless to operate. The powered tailgate function is actually really useful. Unlike most other cars where you have to kick under the tailgate to get it to open and you can never get it right. Here you just walk up to the tailgate with the key in your pocket and it'll open the tailgate, which is a really useful feature. Memory seats are nice. We share this car, obviously, so when you've got multiple drivers driving, it's a really useful feature. Just save your settings, so no matter what anybody else does to the seat position, you can just get back to your original seat position without any stress. And of course, you've got your seat coolers and warmers for both your front seats. Seat coolers in the rear seats would have been nice. The Safari gets them, but not too many other cars, except in the luxury segment, get seat coolers in the back. I think putting them in the back seat of the Tucson will make this even more appealing to the guys who like to sit in the back. In terms of the driving experience, the only criticism I have of it would be the brakes. They feel a little soft and a little soggy. How much into the travel you need to go to actually get it to brake hard. It's not like the stopping power is bad, but it's a disconcerting feeling because you want your brakes to feel super confident, and that's not always the case. No reliability issues so far, if that's what you're wondering. No issues. It's never been to the service center apart from regular service. But yeah, we've had a great time with it. 25,000 kilometers, lots of memories, lots of fun. It's been a good run. Me personally, I'm really gonna miss my time with the Hyundai Tucson. It's been an integral part of the Evo India fleet. Whenever we needed a long distance car, the Tucson has been the go-to vehicle, and it really promises a very compelling package. Diesel engine, great long distance ability, great comfort in the city, the occasional off-road ability. It has a vast breadth of abilities that very other SUVs, whether in this class or otherwise, have. And to that extent, it really makes a compelling buy. Whenever we've recommended SUVs for people looking to buy SUVs in this particular segment, the Tucson has been at the top of the list. And very often, those people actually go out and buy Tucsons because they are such capable cars. The people putting down their money on it see value in its package as well. What do you think of the Hyundai Tucson? Let us know in the comments below. And if there's a question that you have and we haven't answered over the course of this video, drop it down there as well and we'll do our best to answer you. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Stay tuned for more long-term videos on Evo India.